Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
PremierBilliards.com. Exceptional cues, cases, and accessories from top-tier brands. Want it? Need it? Find it. PremierBilliards.com.
You look familiar. I can't hear you.
How about now? Can you hear me
No.
now? That's what happens when you put it on mute to get after your girls. How you doing, Mike?
I'm
Doing
doing
all right?
good. I'm doing good.
It's been more
Like my
shows in
swag?
the last. What has he got there?
Championship.
Our newest
There you
sponsor
go.
of the show.
All
I
out.
gotta get Joey to update these graphics because he's been the one to do all this new fancy stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if he
Well,
if he
that's why I
stays on the
noticed that
stall,
yesterday. So I thought, well, I got to wear the swag today to make sure they get their due.
I'm about to hit the road. So if Joey doesn't get this updated the next couple of days, I'm gonna be updating back to our old ways that we've been doing. So we're gonna get it. We're gonna get them up there one way or the other. Big shout out to all of our sponsors. You see them all around. Show them some love. They're big supporters of the show, big supporters of us, and they it's cool, man. They're getting behind what we're doing here. So it's a big day. It's a big day, Mike. It was a big week. You want to say hi before you get out of here? There you go. There's the hand.
Okay. We talked about a lot yesterday. There's been a lot of announcements, a lot going on. So we just kind of catch up and do a quick kind of reaction show before you hit the road.
Yeah. Where do you want to start at, Mike? Because I posted some stuff last night that I seen about an event that's really pristine, and I don't really know a whole lot of details, although some more came out, I guess, yesterday discreetly. But also got the World 9-Ball Championship. So where do you want to dive into, Mike? Where are we going here?
Well, I mean, first I'd say, reaction to, yesterday, the show on the World 9-Ball with Emily was really interesting. She came with a lot of goods. I thought
dropped a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, well, the Bernie thing was cool. The prize fund was cool. Still didn't find out what first place is going to be, but I got to imagine it's minimum 200.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I just hope I hope they spread it out well. There's a talk that it's only 128, so even the bottom 64 are going to get paid off a little bit. It sounds like so. I think the biggest takeaway from that for me was the effect that event's can have on rankings, because it's such a big event. It's more than three times, or four times, most of their big open events. So, and now it's limited to the top 100 players who are already on their list. So if you're out of that top 100 or 128, working your way into that for the next year becomes really hard, because people are going to make big chunks right out of the gate just from one event. Okay, so the winner of the event is one on Moscone Cup. If it's an American or European,
stamp another 40 or 60,000 on there while you're at it.
Yeah. So and realistically, the top players are going to get those top spots, and they would have been at the top anyway. But I'm looking for the guys who are chasing points, trying to get into that 128, trying to get into those consideration for invitational events, things like that. It's going to become double hard for them.
The stories are going to be more weighted. It's the Beaster Bosches, Mohammed Sufis. It's the Tim DeRuyters of the world, right? These guys that were like on the fringe in 8-4s and finals last year, where it's like, okay, yeah, they made a splash. Alexa comes to mind, right? So these guys that are just kind of on the cusp, but it's like if you are on the cusp at that event, it's a different ball game now, because that being in that range for the World Championship essentially puts you into like a Final Four, I'd imagine, plus semi or final of any other said major within their umbrella.
Well, guys like Alexa are in that 128, right? So they're in that 100 that are invited to the World Championship. I'm talking about like number 115, number 118, number 130. Who are especially the guys out of the 128
Yeah,
who are
but it's
trying to
like,
get into the 128 for the next year,
oh, that's a
right?
whole other, yeah, that's a whole other thing, because then now that now you got not only one event difference that you're able to get into, but that one event actually has to be the biggest payout. So it's
Right,
like now the ground you got to make up just
right.
change significantly.
Dramatically,
Yeah,
dramatically. So
yeah.
and it's we're talking about guys who are fighting for spots pretty low on the totem pole anyway. So there shouldn't be any gimmies,
Well, it could be
but
guys
it
that
should
are
be tough.
that held out for whatever reason, X, Y, and Z. I saw they announced Anton today, and he
Right,
was kind of a big domino, but not really, because the bulk of the Filipinos had already signed.
right,
Guys that I was personally surprised in seeing, like Carlo Beato comes to
right.
mind, because I had heard that there was a big chance that he wasn't going to sign
Chua,
with the World Nine Ball Tour. Johan Chu as well, guys who have SEA roots. You know what I mean? Who
yeah,
have played in that event quite a bit. So,
guys who are
and
on the Philippine kind of quote national team,
national team, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
So
it's interesting. We talked a little bit about WPA yesterday with Emily, and not surprisingly, she couldn't share a lot on that because those decisions are not hers as far as the March 1st deadline, as far as what works, what doesn't work, negotiation wise. But with an event like the World Championship getting announced like that, and it's a 10-year deal, so to me, this idea, the WPA is really in a tight spot now because they're not going to clear that deal
yeah.
by banning all the players from playing in next year's World Pool Championship.
Because
So it's
basically,
just
how it would work out is, if you're not in good standings with the WPA, then you cannot play in the World Nine Ball Championship. Is essentially what that means, right, Mike? In a
correct,
nutshell.
correct.
So then that means that event, the biggest prize fund, and in pool, would be hindered dramatically, right? Because
Well,
then
it would
all
just
this.
change name. They got a 10-year deal. Nashville has a 10-year
Oh,
deal
listen,
with.
if me and you are screwing the queue together, buddy, it's not a world championship. All right, I hate to break
No,
your
no, no.
heart.
What I'm
All right.
saying, I'm saying that Matchroom changes the name from WPA World Championship to the World Nine Ball Tour
Which I don't got a problem
Championship,
with at all,
and
personally.
has all their players in it. Then it's the
Yeah.
biggest prize money of the year, and then the WPA World Nine Ball
Well,
Championship.
then they'll just go off into the sunset, Mike. Sayonara,
Right.
see you later.
That
We're
would
never going to talk
be
about you again. Yeah.
the one back in the early days when
I,
it was in Spain and they were playing in a
yeah.
basement ballroom someplace and
I'm,
you
I
know
gotta. I tell you what. Look, I'm going to Vegas, 20 February 20th. So I'll be over there. I don't know what day our boy Ishan and them arrive. Hopefully, what I'm really looking forward to is seeing Stu, their PR guy for WPA, because he's the guy that I really want to talk to. But I want to get them on the record. I think that they've been. We know what we've heard. Off camera, and I don't know why they've kind of held out, because they're just losing whatever strands of leverage you think you have, which they don't have any, but whatever they think they have, is just going day after day after day after day with more and more news that's coming out, Mike. It's like, what are you holding on to at this point? You're not going to get players. You're not
yeah.
you're not getting bigger events. Who gives a shit if you have a China or Qatar Open if nobody's showing up? Like, what are you holding on to at this point, Mike? I don't. I'm having a hard time seeing how those wheels are turning in their head, and by their own lack of silence, it just leaves us to be able to make assumptions over here. So,
Yeah,
um,
I just think that they are sitting around waiting for Matchroom to come back with some response that says, "Okay, yeah, let's all get along." And as Emily said yesterday, Matchroom doesn't deal like that. Matchroom's going to come back to them with a spelled out contract that is going to be very lopsided in favor of Matchroom, and the WPA is going to balk on it again, and no one's actually even going to know that WP ever considered just up and postponing the March 1st deadline, right? So
yeah,
they're just painting themselves in a situation of looking even worse when they had an opportunity to do something progressive and not something proactive instead of reactive, and they blew that chance,
Yeah.
which is not surprising for them.
Well, it's very par for the course. It's like I've always said. Look, it's one thing to not look. You don't want to support what somebody else is doing. I get it, whether it's pride or ego or whatever. But then if you get in the way of it, right, and you try to sabotage, it's a whole other thing. And then after you lose whatever kind of traction you think you have, if I'm Matchroom, I don't know why I would go back, Mike. To be honest with you,
Well,
other than to kind of keep the peace.
right. Well, create more opportunities for the players. That's what that's what they're supposed to be about, is creating opportunities for the players. And if they can find a way to make peace that doesn't cause them to have to give anything away, then why not? Because it creates more opportunities for the players. If you get the China Open, the Qatar Open into the World 9-Ball Tour thing,
Which I would love to see that, Mike. I would love to see
opportunities for players, right? So, and then the WPA starts looking for other partners for 9-ball tournaments, and they can match them up with Matchroom in the World 9-Ball Tour, and you can add more tournaments to it. Because there are still people who reach out to the WPA for events because they've got that IOC tie-in, right? That National Federation tie-in. So there's a little bit of value there to make things better for the players. Doesn't make things better for Matchroom, makes things better for the players, and that's what everybody's supposed to be for.
Yeah, I mean that reads good on a magazine cover, Mike. That reads good on a flyer. I don't
It's
know.
too many words for a magazine cover.
Yeah, well, I'd buy it on a Facebook press release, but would I buy that just hearing from them and what I've heard from them over the last year? I don't know. Because I think like now is the time, right? March is looming. The first is coming before you know it. We talked about this back in whatever it was, August, right? I mean, way before then, but whenever we had them on, when they announced it. So here we are. It's already February 15th at this point, right?
Yep.
Less than a month away, right? The World 10-Ball Championship is coming. World 9-Ball Championship just announced, and I don't know, Mike. I don't know what they're waiting on. We know that there's something cooking over there, and they want to pretend like it's not. So we'll see. We'll see. I think I don't blame Emily for giving that response to us. Like it was expected, but it was good to kind of get her on the record with good internet. This go around. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see those guys. Hopefully that they're there. I doubt they're going to give me a hug whenever they see me, or you. They probably will.
Flak jacket, bro.
But
all I know is I'm not going to be walking next to you that whole week. That's for sure.
I don't care, Mike. Listen, I've been turned down by worse. Trust me, buddy. So, but no, I'm looking forward to seeing them and just getting them. I'm going to try to get them on the record. That's going to be a goal.
I just like to know what's going through their mind, because they're conspicuous by their silence. They're everybody in the world knows that there's been conversations going, that there's been attempts to try to find some resolution before March 1st, and meanwhile the WPA won't say anything, and that's just really kind of it's shooting yourself in the foot. It's not taking advantage of an opportunity that the timing gives you. And trying to do something that could actually make yourself look a little bit good, look a little proactive, and they're just
crazy. They had an opportunity, Mike, because when he came on last time, and he said, "Hey, listen, we're open to it. We don't need any money. We don't need this. We've sent them emails. If they send us a reply, they're gonna get a reply back within 24 hours." I thought, man, they're making themselves look pretty good here, And then now they kind of just shit the bed a little bit, because here you are again, right? You got a chance to come out with a reply, maintain that momentum, whatever you may have at this point. And I thought they did have it. Sincerely, I did, but
it was simple. It was super simple. It was, hey, everybody, we're pushing the March 1st deadline back because we want to continue talks and we think there's a way to work this out.
Boom,
done.
Boom. Positive.
It's positive. Hey, it's proactive.
When I see you,
it kind of puts
we're giving them a high five.
It kind of puts a little bit of the onus on Matchroom then to come back with something, but instead they sit on their hands and
Well, if nothing else, Mike, it'll make sure that we stay with them.
Yeah.
We kind of we keep ringing that doorbell until we get some kind of answer that makes sense. But at this point, the ball's in their court. They just kind of I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they could take their ball and go home, but I don't think that's
Okay.
going to serve anyone.
Let's
anybody.
ask another WPA question and move on to
Okay.
the next topic. Okay.
What do you got? Shoot.
How does the WPA approve race to 4 format for the World 10 Ball Championship?
Well, I mean, Predator's paying some bills, Mike. What do you think? I mean, it's not the hardest answer to figure out. I don't I came across it last night. I had heard about this format.
Was it just announced, the format, or has the format been out? People just hadn't seen it.
It wasn't announced because,
Okay.
listen, I don't follow Pro Billiards Series, but I will see them on Facebook,
Yeah.
social media pages shared by others. Didn't see that on there. I didn't see it on the WPA social media pages announcing them. I'm not blocked there yet, so I'm still able to see, their posts and their shares. It's kind of a big deal, Mike, and it's something that, that those two in particular, Predator does a real good job of marketing. And it's like you kind of leave out this detail.
Yeah.
People find it on the internet. I found it on a Facebook page finally. Then I saw it on their Pro Billiard Series page saying that, in fact, it is up there. It was live. If you go on there, go under World 10 Ball, click the rules. It's up there in black and white for everyone to be able to see. And
so go over what we're talking about.
So in the last few years, World 10 Ball Championship was 128 players.
Correct.
It was races to 8 and 10, I believe.
Correct.
And then in the double elimination phase, followed by the single elimination phase. So now, which wasn't announced, wasn't anything, we just happened to come across it online. If you go to the Pro Billiard Series page under World 10 Ball, which, by the way, it's your however many weeks out, and there's still not a players list for this event, which is really odd by this point, and so number one, it's from 128 down to 64 players. Okay, fine. And I had heard about this from a lot of guys, a lot of great players who were left out, and I'm sure once that players list comes out, you're going to be scratching your head thinking this guy's in, this guy's not in, because you're going to have a lot of big names who are not going to be part of that event. Now you go to format, Mike, right? From a more traditional event, which it is, it's got a lot of history and roots. Races are part of that, and now it's along that Pro Billiard Series format of race to 4. I think it's best of 4 sets or 5.
Best of 3 sets to single elimination, and then best of 5 sets. It's a little different, and I think that here's my take on it is that they're rolling the dice big time on getting the world championship match down to a shootout and having people like fall out of their chairs every time someone takes a shot, right? Because it is, if you're there, it is intense.
They want another PF filler moment. So they want,
right? That's what they're looking for. That's what they're gambling on. That to me is what this is all about. So if they get to the finals and it's best of 3 sets and it goes 4-1, 4-2, 4-2, not going to be a great reaction. So it's a big gamble to me, but that to me is the only thing I can think of that they convinced themselves of. We want to get that dramatic moment that we've been trying to push all along. Is this?
Well, we watched it. It was compelling.
The shootouts are. You talk to anybody who's there, and you talk to the players. It's nerve-wracking. It's the edge of your seat. It's wild to watch. You saw it with the Pia filler thing. When it come down to the shootout. So it's they're looking for that super exciting moment that they can get on TV. And at the expense of, creating kind of a crapshoot type of environment for the players. And I'd be really surprised now that the format's out if a couple players don't bail out.
Well, I mean, listen,
Shane's on record as not playing in any of those events because of the format, but he played in the World 10 Ball because it was longer races, right? Now
Well,
this year it's not.
he showed up there because he was playing World 10 ball. That's the only reason why he played in the Las
Right,
Vegas or
right.
Alpha or the Diamond event, whatever it's dubbed this year. It's the only
Yeah,
reason why he played in that event was because he happened to be there for the World 10 ball championship. So,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know how that's going to affect it. I'm sure a lot of these guys have seen that in writing. It makes sense why the players list has not been released up until this point. But let's face it, Mike. Listen, I was around in Vegas over the last few years, and every time after that first event, the Diamond, the Alpha, whatever, the Apex, whatever it's called this year, every time those events were over, you know what happened? They went up and found some guys who had a couple of good stories within that event and said, "Hey, do you want to play the World 10 ball? Because we got a spot open for you. Hey, do you want to play the World 10 ball?" And the guys would go online and they would be really excited and, "Oh man, I got into the World 10 ball and need a little bit of help with that 750 entry fee, but man, I feel honored." But it's like you're getting it because they unable to fill it at 128, you know, and so then they shrink the size in half, but you're going to leave out a lot of great players, Mike. I mean, a lot of great players, and
Well,
then
yeah, there's a lot of
off
great
of that
players.
format,
I mean, like David Alcade's not invited.
yeah.
Players like that because they took the rankings to a certain number and then they have allocations to various countries and federations and things like that, and then they've got their wild card picks. So that is what it is. That's just kind of a world championship. You know, that's the rules that they've kind of used in the past. Although shrinking it to 64 makes it a lot tighter.
Oh yeah, I mean significantly, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot on that list where you're going to be like, why is he here versus this guy who's sitting at home, and you're going to open yourself up to scrutiny and opinions and all these things when you don't have transparency, Mike. We went through this for years with Matchroom and Emily, right? Whenever they were picking things for this event or that event or whatever, finally got to a point where they were tired of it and said, you know what, we're just going to make a rankings. We're just going to make it as transparent as you can. We're going to have promoter options as well, right? But the balance point is significantly different, right? So like PLP 8 and 8, right?
Right.
I'm guessing the World Pool Masters will be the same thing, even if it's half and half, which is fine. And to their credit, I think they've done a pretty good job of picking some great names, outside of the 8, like a Bernie, right?
Right.
Who's going to be in that PLP, who I'm really excited to see. Feliciano, who's done very well. And these are just two examples. But when you're the WPA and Predator and you kind of have everything be behind a curtain still at this point, right? This is what you're going to get online anyway. And, I made the post yesterday, saw a comment in there from Federer. I haven't talked to anyone off the record or on the record about it at all. But seeing Federer's comment in there, who, by the way, has a pretty good chance of playing on Sunday, right? He's probably going to be
Yeah.
in a final 8 at a minimum. And so for him to have that response, like say it isn't so. And by the way, Mike, he's probably had the most success in that format more than anybody on earth, So for him to have that response to that non-announcement that was posted yesterday is shocking to me, Mike, because then you can only imagine what the rest of the field who hasn't won that format 4 times, right? What their opinion is on it and what they now think by seeing that on a world championship.
Yeah. No, it's interesting stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to be there.
Yeah. When you get there, Mike, I'm gonna need some backup for a little.
If you look for muscle, you looked at the wrong guy. But
I know you're hitting the gym
I
at
get
6
there on
a.m.
the 20. I get there on the 28th.
Okay, good deal. Well, I'll be there from 20 to 23, and then I'm probably heading back home for a couple of days, and then I'll be back on 27. So, just for that tail end of the World 10 Ball Championship, crossing over into that March deadline, I'm guessing a lot of those movers and shakers and the WPA are going to be out there for a photo op, if nothing else. And I'm excited to see. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen, Mike, because, and it's like now that all these players are already signing with Matchroom. I mean, I want to know, but then I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. Even if I don't find out, that's still okay with me because it's so much is going on over here,
Yeah.
and so something's got to give here, Mike, because if they're already conceding these types of things to Predator, then I'm guessing that there's some conversations being had with Predator and the WPA, because they got 2 world championships that are WPA sanctioned, and I know that they don't want, to have a lackluster field, or a field full of, with all due respect, nobodies.
Well, yeah,
So
there's no doubt that Predator and Joy have been putting pressure on the WPA to work something out with that March 1st deadline, because it affects their tournaments going forward.
and
That's
listen,
where we're at.
Joy's a whole other animal, and a much bigger animal in that room than maybe the American fans or the pool fans may give them credit for, because they got some deep deep pockets, Mike. And put on some pretty heavy events out there in that region on a pretty consistent basis. So I'm
Yeah.
guessing whenever they speak, they're listening. So
Well, it's
uh,
it's they're the new sugar daddy for WPA, and that's fine. No,
listen,
they're not.
I need more shows where you input the phrase "sugar daddy" into the reel. Okay, so
Too
whatever we got
throwback.
to
Is that too
do.
throwback for you, sugar daddy? Or
No, 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 no. I don't know if you know the modern definition, but I need more of that input onto dogging it on a regular basis. So, um, Mike, I want to get your thoughts, because you've been covering the sport for a long time, $1 million, 10 years. Um, you've seen guys come and go, and we talked about this briefly yesterday before we introed the show. Having seen a lot of these guys exit stage left, what is your reaction hearing this news on the 1 million each
yeah,
year?
that's kind of a it's a stability thing for me. Okay, when Kevin Trudeau came in with the IPT, and those were the last $1 million tournaments for pool, but that was 8 ball.
Yeah.
Um, it was obvious right at the start that it was not a sustainable business model,
Yeah.
and so the fact that it went off the rails relatively quickly didn't really surprise anybody. But the players who were in it got benefited a lot for that 1 year. That was a big year for pool, but it wasn't going to last. This you look at and you say, okay, 10 years from now, we're still going to be here, and everything that's riding the coattail of that event, you would hope, is going to be bigger than it is now. So it's kind of growing everything. Now you've got your leader, everybody else is chasing to kind of catch up and to be as important, and so the biggest thing to me is stability with a company that's invested in pool, right? So
Yeah.
it's not some promoter says, I got a bunch of money and I like pool, I'm going to start running this tour. And a year later, they realize, they're spending way more money than they planned on. So they get out. We've seen that happen a million times over the course of the years in pool with people who meant well. I mean, not like a bunch of people coming in trying to rob pool, because you're not going to get a lot trying to rob pool. So, so that's the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's having something to look forward to is great. And you asked this question yesterday, which I thought was brilliant, but it was I'm sure that prize money is going to be increased over the next 10 years, right? I'm sure that million is going to
like
push
that
forward.
question.
She didn't like it. No. It was one of those, you finally got $1 million and now you're asking for more kind of responses.
No, I'm not asking for more. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, if listen, they're business
Hey,
people.
listen, that's
They're not
exactly
signing
what I was going to say. They're very shrewd, Mike. So
they're not
we
signing
have
10-year.
not seen the document, but I would venture to say that there's a pretty good chance that deal includes some kind of tiered system, where even if it's by percentages, that it's going to increase each and every year. That's just what I would guess.
Hope so.
And by default, listen, what you're going to do is put pressure on these other regions that are hosting these said majors to now, hey, you got to step up to the plate. You at least got to be comparable to this event. Now, it's not going to be said directly or publicly or any of these things, but there's a lot of countries with a lot of pride, right? So whether it's the presentation factor, right, the display before and after, the whole, bells and whistles, but more importantly, the prize money, right? Because nobody wants to be like, we're a third less than the Saudi event. No, now it's time we're gonna make sure we raise our own money.
It puts pressure on Matchroom. They put pressure on themselves, because they've got 4 or 5 open events, right? U.S. Open, European Open, UK.
Yeah,
Open,
and those are more
Open,
the events that I'm talking about,
Asian
Mike.
Open, So they're going to want those to be bigger than they can't continue to be 200,000 total prize purse. So now they've got to go out and find other investors for those events to have them keep up with what they've just signed with the Saudis, right? And so, but now you've got, again, to me, one of the things that I've always liked about their plan here is that now they've got something to sell. They've got something to pitch to potential
Yeah.
sponsors.
Yeah.
And even if that potential sponsor ends up being the government or sports ministry or whatever in the countries where you're having the UK Open or the European Open or
Yeah.
the Spanish Open or
There's no
whatever,
there's no shame in that.
get support from them. But
Yeah.
they're going to feel pressure to beef up their own events to keep up with this new deal.
Well, I
So
think
that's
hand in
all.
hand with those people who are helping them put on those events, right? The people within those countries that are, working alongside with Matchroom with putting together, the Spanish, the German Open, whatever, you know what I mean? And making sure that, hey, we don't want to get like there's a certain pride level here, right? That country's not going to want to be the one at the low end of the totem
Right.
pole. So,
Right.
hey, I want to, yeah,
You want to be a major, Mike.
you want to be a major.
You want to be a major.
Derby
We
City,
want
you
to,
calling
no,
me?
we want to,
Yeah.
we want to be one of Mike Pinozzo's majors.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the bar that's set for these
Well,
countries going forward.
There's a big trickle down effect here, Mike, because
Yeah.
now some of these players are going to look more attractive, right? If I know, listen, I'm thinking about sponsoring this guy who's got a pretty good chance, and you're banking on the come, right? So you're thinking, I think he's got a pretty good chance at getting into that 16-8-4 range of a world championship, right? So now what I'm willing to gamble on him based off of that exposure of that event, especially this year, right?
Right.
Is even more massive because and it's things that could go and help those players, for years to come, Mike, because that event's going to get picked up, I'm guessing, in with different broadcasters, just
All
because
this
of
stuff,
it's
all this stuff connects.
the sex appeal.
All this stuff connects. It's this helps this now, and it's that rising tide thing. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. And listen, I don't want to sit here the whole morning and just throw shade on Predator and talk about how great Matchroom is. Predator is another company that offers the stability that you want for events over a longer term. They're as invested in pool as Matchroom is from a different standpoint, but same thing. So if they can get their tournaments squared away and their series squared away to the point where players are supporting it and the WPA allows players to participate, things like that, then you've got two companies in there that are
which is great.
Invested in the game and can offer some stability for the next 10 years.
Look, in principle, it's great. Like it sounds good. It sounds good. There's a couple of problems there, though, Mike. Number one is that if you look at that WPA calendar, as leaders that Predator are and marketing geniuses as they are, right, they haven't announced really any dates for Pro Bird Series this year. If you go to the WPA website, a lot of the events that we saw the last few years aren't there anymore, Mike. And they've just been hush hush about it, or just not wanting to say it publicly, or whatever, right? They're just plain and simple. Those events are not on the WPA calendar for 2024. On top of that, Mike, you got a format in which players since the beginning have hated it. Absolutely hated it. And what we've learned is you cannot have the circus without all the players within the circus, right? The clowns,
circus without the clowns,
the clowns, Mike. And it just doesn't work, So, but there's also like this, like having the World 10 Ball Championship be changed into this format, which I'm guessing a lot of the players did not agree or sign off on or had any input or say whatsoever. And even if they did, it wasn't taken into big enough consideration. Yeah. It just shows, like, for me, Mike, and I hate to put it out there, just like the ego within that camp, Mike, because they just think that their way can fade all the rest of that. And I think the players just now have more options, And so I even more so, I don't understand. Now, look, I like the Pia moment was a great moment, Mike. It really was. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I watched a lot of that World Teams Championship, and will continue to.
Stuff.
I will.
Compelling.
I will, and I think that there's something there, but then there's also something about like tradition, that I can really appreciate. And having the World Championship, the World 10 Ball Championship, which I've loved. I've been watching women's and men's World 10 Ball Championship for years. I really love that event. But this just kind of leaves a little bit more of a bitter taste in your mouth alongside the field that's cut in half, So I think that they mean well, but something's amiss there, Mike. You know, so
Yeah, it's again, it's they're determined to run this format and try to get it a following and try to get it some traction and race to five. You can argue that it's going to
get
be
Dennis.
30 plus games potentially, which
Yeah.
should be long enough. But everybody knows it's just different. So are people going to take on to that or not? I mean, but at least again, as far as stability goes, at least that they're still going to be around, you know, in 5 years or whatever to either make the change or get it developed the way they want to get it
Yeah.
developed.
Look,
But they're not an in and out promoter, which to me is
we've
what I that's what we all want.
oh for sure, no doubt about it. Listen, we've talked about the how Matchroom's events can be the same over and over and over. You go to the UK, it's the same. You go to the Spanish, it's the same. So listen, I like the variation of it, right? And Predator, by some of their decisions, which are great, by the way, you got the women's showdown, which is 9 ball. While they've been priding themselves on 10 ball being a professional game over the last 3 years, right? You got this Pro Beard Series, which are race to 4. Then you've had the World Championship, which has been race to 8, race to 10. So it's like I like it being peppered in, but just the World 10 ball wasn't broken. World 10 ball was great. World I love that event, especially since they've gotten their hands back on it. Right? You've seen Filler lose to a little Cole in a World Championship. You've seen Kachi, derail the would be Triple Crown of the event. You've had some really like great stories and solid champions come out of that event, Mike. And I don't know
Yeah.
why you kind of want to
Well, you just keep
you
tinkering with it, whether it's the format or, I mean, let's talk about this year's prize money. If you finish 17th through 64th, donut,
yeah.
donut. I mean, zero.
So I didn't even look at that. So you mean they're only playing top 16?
Correct.
16 out of 64 players.
Correct.
What is that? Wow. Okay.
To hold $200,000 prize money is top heavy with top at 60, and then 9th through 16th gets 4,375, and 17th through 64 gets a donut.
These are things you can tell me you're going to bring up, so I can be better prepared for the show, Mike. Okay, so let's see
you
here.
get prepared and then you come on the show, Mike.
Last year, I don't have the breakdown here. Let me see here. Oh no, it just said. So what's the total prize fund, Mike, of the World 10-ball Championship? Okay, last year was 250 out of 128
It was 128
players.
Right.
Yeah, so 250,000 was the prize fund last year for 2023, and I guess this year 200,000 for 64 players. So you got more players being able to make more money, but there's gonna be a lot more players that aren't making the same, Mike, and then they're saving 50 on the back end as well.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're out of the top 16, that's tough. That's tough.
Well, okay, listen. How is that gonna feel for you? I mean, I guess not a question for you, but more the players is how's that gonna feel for you if you're getting out of a world championship, losing in race to 4, and then you make it, let's say, to 16 to 32 and still going home with nothing.
Well, it doesn't.
Well, listen, there's a response. Look, there's a response right there from a former World 10-ball champion, Darren Appleton. 17 through 24, nothing. Top 16, 4,300-ish.
Correct.
It's ridiculous,
So
and that's from
24 is zero. So, yeah. I mean, as I said, between the format and the payout, I wouldn't be surprised if you see some players say, you know what, this might not be my tournament.
By the way, you're going to be in Vegas for like
if you play Las Vegas Open and that, yeah, that's a big nut.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting decisions, and maybe we try to get Karim or someone on and have them explain the logic behind it or the rationale behind it, because listen, I've always said, listen, if it's your money, play with it however you want to play with it. If you really believe in this system, then tell me why and how long you're going to stick with it. So
you'll buy patience like that from players, Mike. You will, with being open about it, right? And having public, candid conversations with them. Putting your neck on the line, so to speak.
Right.
And players will have more faith in you. Look at this, Mike. I'm sure players were aware of this world championship before them signing on to the World Nine Ball Tour, right? I would guess anyway that a lot of them got a heads
Yeah.
up. Hey, this
Well,
is in the
this was a
pipeline.
freebie. This was a freebie.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Well, the band doesn't start till March 1st, right? So whether you sign the World
Yeah,
Nine Ball
yeah,
or
that's
not,
fair.
you had, this was a freebie that you could do on your way out the door.
Secured you a spot,
Correct.
And so, but my point is, Mike, is that they had faith in them. The players had faith in them to some extent, no matter what. And then
Right.
on the other hand, you got stuff like this, and especially when it just goes back to like you can't have it both ways for me when it comes to Predator, and I don't want to keep dogging on them, so to speak, but it's they've they've shifted prize monies around in order to have a more sexy payout, like with the World 8-Ball Championship, right? So like they're very aware of the optics of things, you know, completely. They have a really great marketing team there that does a good job of whether it's cues or events or whatever, that they do a solid job of promoting themselves because Predator is only about Predator. Predator's about Apex, Arcos, Arcadia.
It's your company. You're supposed to be about
Yeah,
yourselves.
yeah. They're all about them. But it's like you can't have these things kind of be in the bushes and now they're out there and then expect not to have opinions about them, or feel like you're getting, maybe treated unfairly, whether it's online by players or by
Yeah.
donkeys like us or whatever. Because sorry, Mike. Because
Yeah.
because
How
you,
do you get
because you don't
us how do you get us into this?
because you don't well listen, you just because I know some of the stuff I'm sure I'm going to hear whenever I go out there to Vegas, Mike, and but here's the thing: you can be proactive. You can go out there and talk about it and get in front of it before any of it happens. That's one thing. Listen, I love about Emily. Whether it's a good conversation or a tough conversation, she's willing to come on and stand up for it and just take ownership and responsibility of it, Mike. You know what I mean? And whether it's an uncomfortable question to be had or not so uncomfortable, she's willing to come on.
Well,
You know,
I don't think like Karim has ever turned us down.
well, I mean,
No,
I know that I
well,
well listen I
well,
I
listen,
kind of I
we'll
kind of
take a
I kind of
shot.
include them. Reach out. Listen, I'm on the road the next few days. Krim's willing to come on. I'll make an effort to make it happen on my end anyway. Whether
Yeah.
it's timing wise or whatever. I'll take my stuff with me. And I can carve out an hour somewhere at a pool room in up north and figure it out. And even if it's next week before I head out to Vegas, whatever, you know. But it's listen, even if they come on or not, right? They know the things that get put out there in social media when it comes to
Yeah, of
marketing their
course.
event on a price
They pay
funds.
attention to that for sure.
Very much so, very much so. So that's my whole point when it comes to all this is that they could just as well have done this from the beginning and it not be an issue now. You know what I mean? Or not be a point of conversation because hey, listen, we've seen this coming for the last whatever it is, 6 months,
Trying to
9
say they
months.
tried to slide that new format in there without anybody noticing.
Listen, I saw it. I heard about it. I heard about it. What do you call it? I heard about it maybe 3 weeks ago, Mike, somewhere around there, right? And I was and what I had said to where I heard it from, I said, well, let me get something in writing, right? I want something that I can see online that I can reference. So I'm going looking around and can't find it, can't find it. And then it just happened to pop up on a group yesterday, right? Of a Facebook group that I followed and I saw it on there. And then I go to that Pro Beard Series page and see that okay, now it's since been updated because before then it was always, I'll never forget, it says more info coming soon. More
Yeah.
info coming soon is what it always says when it comes to the World 10 ball. The showdown, the doubles, everything else had updates on it, players list, you name it. World 10 ball, more info to come soon. Now I didn't have that. Players list still ain't there, but the format's there.
I can tell your dogs don't like this new format.
They're fired up, Mike. They're fired up.
They're
Yeah,
fired
they're fired up. They're fired. They're just as passionate as I am.
They know
about
daddy's
all
on
this.
tilt.
Yeah, they know. They see the WPA and Predator coming a mile away over here.
Uh,
But it's you leave yourself open to it by the way you go about it.
You do.
know?
And it's that, I don't want to compare them to the WPA, but it's that kind of, we operate in a vacuum and that's the way we do things. And
Yep.
so I just don't think that that's
It really is
great
though,
way
Mike.
to.
It really is. It's a fair comparison, But listen, you wear the crown, you got to own it, you know. And
Yeah,
so it's just part of it. But either way, listen, there's good opportunity for players, both women and men, out there in Vegas to make some money. And I'm sure those players are going to be happy. Others maybe not so much. But either way, it's going to be good content for pool fans around the world because it's going to be live online on their YouTube page and displayed well. And it's going to be look, we're about to enter in like a really long stretch here of a free pool online for everyone in the world to see, and a lot of the stuff that's going to happen um, over the next whatever it is couple of months is just going to be the beginning, which is crazy,
right,
Mike. You know,
right.
But- right?
Yeah, there's
Um,
gonna be a lot of great stuff. I mean, regardless of the format, whatever, there's gonna be a lot of great events coming out of Vegas in terms of free pool to watch on TV, the streaming. All those events. I think the women's 9-ball showdown is going to be great. That's a total content type of format. Kind of round
it's real
robin-ish.
smart. It's
Yeah,
real smart. It's
it
real
gives you
smart
tons
by
of
them.
content, puts a
Yeah.
lot of important
Two
matches out there. So
tables, you can just
yeah,
you can package it up really well for YouTube, and it
yeah,
can be watched over and over. It's easy on the eyes, it's
yeah, it'll be
short.
fun.
It's going to be great. It's going to be really good. And the women love it. They're getting more opportunity, which is awesome. I'll tell you what, um I'll make you a dinner bet. I'll take an unseeded player over a seeded player on that showdown, Mike.
There's 8 seeded and 8 unseeded.
Yeah,
All right,
I'll take the
I'll take the seeds.
I'll take the unseeded for the
I'll
win.
take the seeds.
Okay, we'll go herbs and rye.
Uh, they're booked up the whole time we're out there, man. I got to find some space in there.
Are they really?
I got to try to call in a couple favors over there.
We need to, Mike. I'm gonna be really, really disappointed if we don't make it out there one of these. I'm telling you what, man. I'm gonna be You thought those dogs were on tilt. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing yet, Mike.
Well, no,
Uh,
if it's just you and me, we just go there and find a seat at the bar and eat at the bar. That's
I'm
the
I'm good
best
with that.
place to do
I'm
it.
good with that. Hey, so let's circle back to the World Nine Ball Championship for a minute before we get out of here. What do you think, or what's been the reaction you've heard for some of these players now that it's public? And have you talked to anyone? I
I haven't
love the
talked
quote they had
specifically
from
to anybody
Federer.
because their emotions are all on their sleeves, man. You just watch social media and they're like,
Do you think it's
they're
genuine?
they found love. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the guys. I don't think they're just doing it because it's in their contract.
Yep.
The response from the players has been, what you would expect it to be for, a big production $1 million tournament. So they're stoked, and I think that as much as anything, that they're feeling like their patience and their faith in. I hate when people use, I followed the process. I'm sticking to the process. That's the most sports cliche thing in the world, but they've had faith in what they've been
Man, Bill
told.
Bill Belichick said that for years, Mike.
So, but no, now everybody uses it. I mean, you think
Yeah.
you can turn in a homework assignment and they'll ask you, they
Yeah.
say, well, I just followed the process. So, but what they're doing is the players are finally realizing that their patience and faith can be rewarded. And this is the first step. Still a long way to go, but this is something to say, okay, we just turned a corner here. We just got to this another level. Now let's see
Just
if we can
leveled
stay
up.
on this level. And then, so yeah, you can see the excitement in the players and good for them. And, we've all, you and I are both advocates for the players more than anything. And,
Yeah.
so it's good to see them happy and excited.
Like this 9-ball shirt is comfortable, is why I wear it. But it's not for to disagreeing with a lot of people thinking I'm just a matchroom apologist, which I try not to be. And but we call them out on their bullshit too, just like anyone else, And I, not to say that you haven't, but there's been a lot of people online who didn't. But I've been optimistic to at least give them a chance to be able to follow through with things that they're saying,
Yeah.
and seeing the calendar, like thinking about it in the grand scheme, it's and she mentioned it yesterday where listen, we had like 3 events, and it seems like such a long time ago, Mike, of like
Like
the
2
days of
years.
Moscone Cup,
Yeah.
World Cup of Pool, and I don't even remember what the other
World Pool
World Pool
Masters.
Masters,
Yeah, pretty much it.
so
And then they bought the US Open. That was the start of the
snowballing,
219 was kind
yeah.
of the start of the snowball.
Put it in gear, Mike,
Right.
And so, but it's crazy to think about it like that because it does seem like such a long time away. And now all these things they've been saying. Hey, listen, be patient with us. Give us some faith here. We're going to deliver. We're going to grow this thing, right? We're putting the pieces in place in order to make a sustainable tour. And now, like you said, it's only the beginning. And I'm with you there. I think it is only the beginning. I'm excited to see how everyone else around this around the World Nine Ball Championship ups their game for the players or maybe for themselves and so on. But by default, the players will be rewarded, and we'll get more on their plate, which we feel they deserve. So
Yeah.
I love watching those guys compete. I love their stories. I love seeing their heartache and their excitement. So
Mostly, I
I'm
want to see
just
them get to the pay window.
what,
That's what I want. For the
yeah.
players.
Well, you gonna be shaking them down for dinner or something? Is that what you're doing? Or?
Yeah, they owe me. There's a
Yeah.
lot of guys out there who owe me.
The sincerity in your soul when you responded to that, I'm never gonna forget. All right, Mike, you got anything else before we get on out of here?
No, no, no. Good recap.
Yeah, it really was. There's gonna be a lot of pool coming up over the next few weeks. We got let's see, so Predator events are going on. They'll
Yep.
be free on their YouTube channel. I don't know what the outside table coverage is going to be like, but we'll post that. I don't know if it's going to be Kazoom or who it's going to be, but I'm sure we'll have that information for you as soon as we can on the page.
Hey, I
We're
hope
also
it's
going to
because
be
they
working.
do they do a great job under there.
They do a good quality.
Yeah.
Even if it's for 20, $25 for you to get all the
Yeah,
the pick
well
of the
worth it.
pick of whatever
Yeah.
you want for all those days and for
Yeah.
the length of those days.
Right.
It's a steal for sure.
Yeah.
We're also, Collins and I are going to be doing the U.S. Open Banks 8-ball, 1 pocket, and 10-ball out there in Vegas, March 3rd through the 16th. So make sure if you're in the area, stop on by,
You have,
say hello,
you have
enjoy some good
residency
pool.
there, dude.
Mike, I am dreading going to Vegas for that amount of time, man. I'm not even lying to you, man. I like it's I'll be telling my girls because this is the longest I'm gonna be gone, and now they're getting older, so they're like, why are you gonna be gone for so long? Usually your tournaments are like a weekend or maybe a bigger events like a week. And I'm like, and I'm having to explain to them like, well, you got this going on, that going on. And so it's that's why this weekend though I'm taking all my girls with me. We're gonna be on a road trip, and I'm looking forward to spending time with them. Nothing,
Good deal.
nothing helps me out better in life and in my
Yeah.
spirits and in my soul than spending time with all my girls. Even though they kind of they're like them dogs out there sometimes barking at each other, but we all enjoy each other and have love for one another. So I'm real excited for that. What else, Mike? Yeah, it's gonna be a real long time in Vegas. So any by the way, any restaurant recommendations, hit me up, let me know. I need all the help I can get because we're going to be out there for quite a while. So
Hit up Oscar. He knows them too. But
yeah, he does.
there's a couple of really good ones. My favorite is Esther's Kitchen, but they're closing for like 2 or 3 weeks because they're moving into a bigger space.
They're not going to be there during that time.
No, no, they're gonna be
Maybe
closed
whenever
the whole
I'm there.
time. We're gonna be in Vegas. I think they close on the 20th. Great
Oh,
spot.
the
Great
20th.
spot.
Well, if we can make it, let's swing it. If not, we'll do it another
Okay.
time. So, anyhow, thanks everybody for tuning in. Big shout out to all of our sponsors. You see them all the way around, along with Championship Billiards Cloth. My man, yeah, newest one. We're gonna get them. We're gonna get them added on here in a pretty premium spot. So I got to work that out with Joy. But I'm real excited. Yeah, I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Maybe I'll do something whenever I come back from going up north. I'll still be on the page here or there because I got some other fun things I'm gonna be doing while I'm on the road. But it'll be far and few between. So stay tuned. Keep your notifications on, Mike. We appreciate you, buddy. And